Jails from the Jails with John G. Sutton. Do please like and subscribe. And your comments, I like your comments, insults, requests. And I've got a request today. Somebody requested I sing Leaving Durham Town, so I'm going to do that at the end. And you'll hear the song dinger. So all those of you who are appreciative of extremely good music, that's the wanting to get the hell out of here. I'm going to talk today about the subject I breached the other day, about the IRA. But you want to know, really, I suspect, how the hell the IRA could say to a prison officer, which they did say to me on a number of occasions, by the way, "We know where you live, Mr. Sutton." And they did know where I lived. And I am going to tell you how I know that they knew where I lived. I returned from duty one day early. I'd been on a escort duty into London. I think it was somewhere like Bow Street Magistrates Court. So I got back about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. They said, "Oh, you can go and work on it." I said, "Well, I'd like to go home, actually, because I had a baby daughter and I had been working too much." So I thought, well, I'll spend a couple of hours at home with my wife and child. So I went home, and as I got back, I was in uniform, and as I got back to the block of apartments where I lived, they were called maisonettes. You know, they had like two stories inside a block of what ostensibly appeared to be flats. So as I was going up the stairs, I saw an inmate that I recognised from D Wing, which was the lifers wing where they held the IRA. And this particular inmate was completely unsupervised, painting the railings, black lead paint, painting the railings leading up the stairs to the accommodation in the staff accommodation block. So I said, where is your supervisor, where's your officer? "Oh, I've been sent out on my own." I said, "All right, well, I'm sending you back." He said, "I've been sent here by the works department." I said, "Well, it's not the work department sending you back, it's me that's sending you back." I said, "And you go back immediately and report to the works department and tell them that Mr. Sutton says that you will not, under any circumstances, be working on prison accommodation where you are not supervised. You are a committed prisoner," and he was serving something like 15 years for grievous bodily harm or something like that. And he was all right. He was in the last half of his sentence, because it was days before we got the 50% reduction in sentences. And I said, "You go back and tell the works department officer that sent you here that you're not allowed to work unsupervised in the accommodation for staff." Well, obviously this inmate was he was an inmate of D Wing, and D Wing was the lifers wing at Wormwood Scrubs when I worked there. And obviously he knew exactly who lived there, because he was working on the properties. He could see the wives and family, he could see the children, and this was a long-term inmate. I believe he was serving about 15 years or so for grievous bodily harm or something like that. And they'd allowed him out of prison unsupervised. Now that is the kind of stupidity that would lead to the locations and endangering the staff. So I sent him back, and he gave him his due. He went back and he went to see the senior works department officer that sent him there, and I went to see the head of security at the Scrubs. And I pointed out, that it's endangering the security of the safety of staff who are residing in prison accommodation to put unsupervised inmates from D Wing, the lifers wing, the long-term prisoners wing, into working in the accommodation, because on D Wing there were numerous members of the IRA who were seeking information about the locations of prison officers outside the jails so they could intimidate them. I pointed this out to the head of security, who was a principal officer, who was, let's be honest, about as much use as a chocolate fireguard. He was a complete doughball. How he ever got that job, I can only imagine it was because he was a member of the Freemasons, which he was. I absolutely know that he was, and the senior staff, the principals and chief officers were mainly, and indeed the governor, were all members of the Freemasons. So I went to see the head of security and pointed this out to him. He said, yes, but Mr. Sutton, he said, how are we going to rehabilitate people into work into the community if we don't allow them out into the community? I said, you can do what you want as far as I'm concerned, but if you put unsupervised inmates into the vicinity of the prison accommodation, you are endangering the staff. I don't think he fully understood that. But I said, anyway, I shall be putting a paper into the governor. I'll give you a copy, which I did. Of course, all it got me was anger from the senior management, who had been called out for they were in breach of the Prison Act. They are required to maintain the custody of the inmates who are incarcerated in the prisons, and allowing out a long-term prisoner into the accommodation of the staff was in direct breach of the Prison Act. So, having pointed this out to the governor and the head of security, as far as I know, it didn't happen again. But there was something of an outcry, and I was listed as some kind of troublemaker for doing this. You see, the issue I had was that I knew that the IRA had been attempting to intimidate me by saying that they knew exactly where I lived. They knew the name of my wife and child. How did they know this? Well, they knew it because they'd got inmates that were on the same wing as they were, going out working unsupervised on the prison quarters. And the senior staff at Wormwood Scrubs were allowing this, until I pointed out to them that if they did this again, that there would be repercussions. And there would, because I would have not at all hesitated in putting a paper in to the regional director, and at the same time notifying the national press, so that they could run a nice little story on that. You can imagine the kind of reception I got when I advised them that that was the route they were now travelling. Tales from the jails. I mean, the rest of the staff were just allowing them to get on with it. You tried to tell them, that they're endangering your lives. Oh no, it's always gone on. This is how they think they repair the quarters. Yeah, they don't have any prison quarters now. I previously warned you at the start of this. Comments, please, like and subscribe, all the rest of it. But that's the song dinger, folks. Panic sets in. Yep. I'm going to sing a song now. Special request here. This is Leaving Durham Town, and it was originally recorded by Roger Whittaker. I'm now going to... I don't know about leaving Durham Town. People will be leaving this side. Seriously, hang on, folks. I'm going to give it my best shot. Are you ready? Leaving Durham Town, as recorded by Roger Whittaker, and subsequently castrated by John G. Sutton. I gotta leave old Durham Town. I gotta leave old Durham Town. I gotta leave old Durham Town, and that leaving's gonna get me down. I remember Daddy walking out the door. Mama told me he was going to war. He was leaving me. Now I gotta leave old Durham Town. I gotta leave old Durham Town. I gotta leave old Durham Town, and that leaving's gonna get me down. When I was a boy, I spent my time sitting on the banks of the River Tyne, watching all the ships going down the line. They were leaving me. Now I gotta leave old Durham town. I gotta leave old Durham town. I gotta leave old Durham town, and that leaving's gonna get me down. The last week Mama passed away. Goodbye, son, was all she'd say. There's no cause for me to stay, so I'm leaving free. Now I gotta leave old Durham town. I gotta leave old Durham town. I gotta leave old Durham town, and that leaving's gonna get me down. I sincerely hope you enjoyed that. If you did, sick parade tomorrow morning. Arse full of Largactyl.